Hi, boys and girls. Okay, so today I'm going to read you one of my favorite Dr. Seuss books. Boys and girls, this is Miss Hogue's all-time favorite. So I'm so excited to share it with you today. It's called, are you ready? Do you think you know what it is just by looking at the top? I bet a lot of you do. It's called The Lorax by Dr. Seuss. Now, it's a good week to read about the Lorax because the Lorax talks about chopping down trees and what could happen to our environment, which is where we live. And we've been talking about Earth Day and making it Earth Week this week. So it's a good day to read the Lorax. So are you ready? So these are my favorite trees. They're called truffula trees. Can you say truffula trees? Truffula trees. All right, let's see what happens. Ooh, can you see the pictures? At a far end of town where the grickle grass grows, and the wind smells slow and sour when it blows, and no birds ever sing excepting old crows, is the street of the lifted Lorax. Ooh, it looks kind of scary, doesn't it? And deep in the grickle grass, some people say, if you look deep enough, you can still see today where the Lorax once stood just as long as he could before somebody lifted the Lorax away. Oh, look, he's going to go up to, looks like this kind of spooky looking house. What was the Lorax? And why was it there? And why was it lifted and taken somewhere? From the far end of town where the grickle grass grows, the old Onceler still lived here. Ask him. He knows. Ooh, so this guy called the Onceler, that's his name, he lives in this spooky old house. You won't see the Onceler. Don't knock at his door. He stays in his lurkin on top of his store. He lurks in his lurkin cold under the roof where he makes his own clothes out of Mufford Moof. And on special dark midnights in August he peeks out of the shutters and sometimes he speaks and tells how the Lorax was lifted away. He'll tell you, perhaps, if you're willing to pay. Ooh, what do you think? Do you want to hear the story? On the end of a rope, he lets down his tin pail, and you have to toss in 15 cents and a nail, and the shell of the great-great-great-grandfather's snail. Look, there he's tossing in his shells and his nail. So once he tosses all of those things in the bucket, they take it back up, and then we get to hear the story of the Lorax. Then he pulls up the pail, makes the most careful count to see if you paid him the proper amount. And he hides what you've paid him away in his snoove, his secret strange hole in his grooviest groove. Then he grunts, I will call you by whisper-ma-phone, for the secrets I tell you are for your ears alone. Can you make a pretend phone with your fingers like this? Slip! Down flops the whisper-ma-phone to your ear, and the old Onceler whispers are not very clear, since they have to come down through a snurly hose, and he sounds as if he had smallish bees up his nose. Now I tell you, he says, with his teeth sounding gray, how the Lorax got lifted and taken away. It all started way back, such a long time ago. Way back. This is my favorite part because the beginning of this book, boys and girls, has been kind of gloomy and sad, right? Kind of scary a little bit. The pictures and the colors are all really dark. Now watch what happens when I turn the page. How beautiful does this place look? Look at the beautiful trees and the blue water and the green grass. Way back in the days when the grass was still green and the pond was still wet and the clouds were still clean, and the song of the swoomy swans rang into space. One morning, I came to this glorious place, and I first saw the trees, the truffula trees, the bright-colored trunks of the truffula trees, mile after mile in the fresh morning breeze. And under the trees, I saw brown barbaloons frisking about in their barbaloot suits as they played in the shade and ate truffula fruits. From the rippleless pond came the comfortable sound of the humming fish humming while splashing around. Do you see the fish splashing around? There's the bears. But those trees, those truffula trees. All my life I've been searching for trees such as these. The touch of their tufts was much softer than silk, and they all had a sweet smell of freshly butterfly milk. I felt a great leaping of joy in my heart. I knew what to do. I unloaded my cart. Says the one flares. And in no time at all, I had built a small shop. Then I chopped down a truffula tree with one chop. Can you take your hand and pretend to chop a truffula tree down? Chop. Let's see. And then with great skillful skill and with great speedy speed, I took the soft tuft and I knitted a feed. So this like sweater looking thing right here, that's what he calls a feed. The instant I'd finished, I heard a gazump. I looked, I saw something pop out of the stump of the tree I chopped down. It was sort of a man. Describe him? That's hard. I don't know if I can. He was shortish and oldish and brownish and mossy. And he spoke with a voice that was sharpish and bossy. Do you see him? I like his mustache. What do you think? Who do you think that is, boys and girls? Does anybody have any idea? Can I tell you who it is? That right there, that's the Lorax. Mister, he said with a sawdusty sneeze, I am the Lorax and I speak for the trees. I speak for the trees have no tongues. And I'm asking you, sir, at the top of my lungs. He was very upset as he shouted and puffed. What's that thing you've made out of my truffula truff? Look, Lorax, I said, there's no cause for alarm. I just chopped down one tree. I am doing no harm. I'm being quite useful. This thing is a feed. A feed's a fine something that all people need. It's a shirt, it's a sock, it's a glove, it's a hat, but it has other uses. Yes, far beyond that. You can use it for carpets, for pillows, for sheets, or curtains, or covers for bicycle seats. The Lorax said, Sir, you are crazy with greed. There is no one on earth who would buy that fool feed. But the very next minute, I proved he was wrong. For just at that minute, a chap came along, and I thought that feed I had knitted was great. He happily bought it for $3.98. I laughed at the Lorax. You poor guy. You never can tell what some people will buy. I repeat, cried the Lorax. I speak for the trees. I'm busy, I told him. Stop if you please. I rushed across the room and in no time at all built a radio phone and I put in a quick call. I called all my brothers and uncles and aunts and said, listen here, here's a wonderful chance for the whole Onceler family to get mighty rich. Get over here fast. Take the road north niche. Turn left at Weehawken, sharp right at South Stitch. And in no time at all, the factory was built. The whole Onceler family was working full tilt. We were knitting thieves just as busy as bees, and the sound of the chopping of truffula trees. So to make these thieves, boys and girls, what do they have to chop down? Does anybody know? You're right, they have to chop down the truffula trees. Now, can I tell you something that's very, very important? Where we live, it's really important on our earth that when you chop down a tree, that you always, always, always plant a new one. It's really important for us to always be planting trees. We would never want us to not have trees because trees provide a lot of great things like oxygen for us to breathe and a lot of great things for our environment. So it's really important that we'd always have trees. We would never want to chop them all down. Then, oh, baby, oh, how my business did grow. Now chopping one tree at a time was too slow. So I quickly invented my super axe hacker, which whacked out 4 truffle of trees at one smacker. We were making thieves 4 times as fast as before, and that Lorax, he didn't even show up anymore. But the next week he knocked on my new office door. He snapped, "I'm the Lorax, and I speak for the trees, which you seem to be chopping as fast as you please. But I'm also in charge of the brown barbaloos who played in the shade in their barbaloot suits and happily lived eating truffle of fruits. Now, thanks to your hacking my trees to the ground, there's not enough truffle of fruit to go round. And my poor barbaloots are all getting the crummies because they have gas and no food in their tummies." Do you see them down there? They loved living here, but I can't let them stay. They'll have to find food, and I hope that they may. "Good luck, boys," he cried, and he sent them away. I, the onceler, felt sad as I watched them all go. But business is business, and business must grow, regardless of crummies and tummies, you know. I meant no harm, but mostly truly did not. But I had to grow bigger, so bigger I got. I biggered my factory, I biggered my roads. I biggered my wagons, and I biggered my loads. Of the thieves that I shipped out, I was shipping them forth to the south, to the east, to the west, to the north. I went right on biggering, selling more thieves, and I biggered my money, which everyone needs. Look at this big factory. I don't know, boys and girls, do you think that this is a good idea? Chopping down all of these trees? We already find out that those poor barbaloot bears, they got really sick from not having the trees. I hope somebody else doesn't get sick or somebody gets hurt from not having the trees. Then again, he came back and was fixing some pipes when that old nuisance Lorax came back with more gripes. "I am the Lorax," he coughed and he whiffed. He sneezed and he snuffled, he snarled, he sniffed. "Onceler," he cried with a groupulous croak, "Onceler, you're making such smogglous smoke. My poor swoomy swans, why, they can't sing a note. No one can sing who has smog in their throat." So look at all, ooh, do you see all of that? Yeah, do you see? Oh, that's not good, is it? So all of this smoke that's in the sky is making the birds really, really sick. "And so," said the Lorax, "please pardon my cough. They cannot live here, so I'm sending them off." "Where will they go?" "I don't hopefully know. They may have to fly for a month or a year to escape from the smog you've smogged up around here." "What's more," snapped the Lorax, his dander was up, "let me say a few words about Gluppity Glup. Your machinery clugs on day one and day without, stopping to make Gluppity Glup. Also schluppity schlup. And what do you know with this leftover goo? I'll show you, you dirty old onceler, you." So there's the machine inside of his big factory. Do you see it? "You're glumping the pond where the humming fish hummed. No more can they hum, for their gills are all gummed. So I'm sending them off. Oh, their future is dreary. They'll walk on their fens and get woefully weary in search of some water that isn't so smeary." And then I got mad. I got terribly mad. I yelled at the Lorax, "Now listen here, Dad. All you do is yap, yap, and say bad, bad, bad. Well, I have my rights, sir, and I'm telling you, I intend to go on doing just what I do. And for your information, you Lorax, I'm figuring on biggering and biggering and biggering and biggering, turning more truffle trees into thieves, which everyone needs." And at that very moment, we heard a loud whack. From the side of the fields came a sickening smack of an axe on a tree. Then we heard the tree fall, the very last truffula tree of them all. Oh no, all of the trees are gone. No more trees, no more thieves, no more work to be done. So in no time, my uncles and aunts, everyone, all waved goodbye. They jumped into my cars and drove away under the smoke-smuggled stars. Now all that was left neath the bad-smelling sky was my big empty factory, the Lorax and I. The Lorax said nothing, just gave me a glance. He just gave me a very sad, very backwards glance as he lifted himself by the seat of his pants. And I'll never forget the grim look on his face when he hoisted himself and took leave of this place through the hole in the smog without leaving a trace. And all that Lorax left here in this mess was one small pile of rocks with one word, unless, whatever that meant. Well, I just couldn't guess. That was long, long ago, but each day since that day, I've sat here and worried away. Through the years while my buildings have fallen apart, I've worried about it with all of my heart. But now, says the Onceler, now that you're here, the word of the Lorax seems perfectly clear. Unless someone like you cares a whole awful lot, nothing is going to get better. It's not. So catch, calls the Onceler, and he lets something fall. It's a trifala seed. It's the very last one of all. You're in charge of the last of the truffula seeds, and truffula trees are what everyone needs. Give it a clean water and feed it fresh air. Grow it a forest and treat it with care. Protect it from axes that hack. Then the Lorax and all of his friends may come back. The end. Did you like that book? It's one of my favorites. It always reminds me that it's so important for us to take care of our world, boys and girls. This week we've been learning a lot about different ways we can help pick up garbage and how we can plant trees and we can get around, maybe not in our cars, but we could walk and we could ride our bikes and do things that help keep the earth healthy. And that's really important that we do that. So that is the story, The Lorax. It's a little bit longer than the books I normally read. So I'm so thankful that you did such a fantastic job today sitting and listening to my story. I hope you have a wonderful day and I will see you tomorrow. Bye, everybody.